strategize the project. Basically, I help get money for the project. But it's actually a case where I can share some experiences, lessons in terms of how universities can try to do something in terms of community engagement. As I mentioned earlier this morning, Chulalongkorn University is actually quite rich. I can say that it's a rich institution, and I'm actually quite ashamed of it, but that's fine. But it's actually rich because it's a land-grant university for some of you who may not know what this place is. It's actually a land-grant university where basically King Rama VI got some basic donation money. It's a side note that not a lot of people know that we actually got the money from the people who donated money so that the king would build a statue for his father, King Rama V. It was originally this donation money for people that people would donate to build a statue. And back then, there was no concept of a statue. It's a very Western concept of having a statue. So what ended up happening is that people donated a lot of money to build a statue because they thought, oh, statue is kind of like building a temple, So they donated a lot of money, and they built a statue for King Rama V, and there's a lot of money left over. So, and the university came into existence because of that money. Not a lot of people in Thailand actually know that anecdote. But anyway, so we got a lot of land. It turned out to be, in the center of this mega city. The land is actually pretty much the most expensive area in Thailand. So the university is divided into two parts, the academic part and the sort of commercializable part. So if you've already been to the shopping malls around here, the land is actually owned by the university. So the university has a lot of endowment. So the university itself is really focused on teaching since the beginning of its history, because it was a school to educate bureaucrats for the government. And teaching has always been the focus of the university. Recently, I would say maybe 10, 15 years, we've shifted a little more into graduate teaching and research activities. So the university is trying to become another research university. It's a little hard because we've really focused on teaching in the past maybe 80 years, and all of a sudden we're shifting a little more into graduate programs and research. But I could say that this is an elite university. I'm slightly ashamed of it, but it's actually an elite university. So the caliber of the students are wonderful. I mean, we've got one set of the best students in Thailand, and they're actually quite rich too. We haven't done a survey. They haven't done a survey for a long time, but they used to. They did a survey a long time ago, maybe 15 years ago, I think, looking at basically the average income of the parents of the students from here. It's really like the top, like really, really different from other universities. The reason why I'm giving you some background is that it's actually quite hard for a university of this caliber, of this endowment, to become community engaged. It's not. You can't just tell Harvard to go, okay, all the Harvard kids, let's go out and help people on the ground. It's actually hard. It's very hard for us, this university as well, to tell our students to be sort of like community oriented, because they have never been community oriented the whole life. They've been prep school oriented. They always go to elite high schools, go to prep schools. So in terms of teaching and try to do this innovation for inclusive development, you always have, there's just the awareness of the faculty. I mean, that's a hard part. But the second part is how to really involve the students who are traditionally not community engaged. So that's one challenge. Another challenge is the fact that we didn't really have a lot of town and gown problems, because people around this area have always considered Chula as the landowner. We've also actually have a lot of redevelopment projects going on around this area where people have lived in this area for a long, long time, like some of them 30, 40 years. But they've actually been, you could call them evicted because, finally the university wants to develop the land. The land prices, the land value is appreciated so much. So now these people are being excluded from this redevelopment project. So on the one hand, it's nice to have all these department stores that feed into our research money. Actually, part of my salary and research grant comes from MBK and Science Square and Tianjin Square. So I'm quite thankful. But on the other hand, it's actually very bad in terms of how we deal with the local communities that are surrounding us. The interesting is that we faculty members tend to go out really far. We would fly an hour or two to help people in the rural communities, but we tend to ignore people who are surrounding us. So that's the challenge. So I prepared with my colleague. We did this project called Neighborhood Revitalization in Bangkok. What we thought was innovative about this project is this. There are a few things. The first thing is that if you've been to public participation, public hearings, people fight over random issues. I mean, they're not randoms, but people fight over things, and people don't talk to each other. So we thought, well, art is something that's a little apolitical and something that people could enjoy. Why don't we just try to use art as a way to sort of bring people in at least to the same room, and then they can just start talking about things. So we started this project called Art-Led Neighborhood Revitalization. We actually got a little grant from the Rockefeller Foundation to basically start this project. And the idea is that we will have design students from our faculty, from the Faculty of Architecture. So we have faculty who are really into design, and students who are really good at drawing. So we have our students go in to communities, but not just do the projects actually. What we ask our students to do is basically to support the community in terms of translating what they want into some schematic models. Okay, so this is the area. It's near the river. It's a very sort of culturally rich area of Bangkok. But what happened was it was going through some decline in terms of social and economic prosperity, but yet they have some really nice sort of cultural assets in the area. So we evolved basically the religious leaders were really tremendous in terms of help, bringing in different ideas and bring people to the forum. We use our students as the sort of labor to help translate the ideas that people have. Because a lot of times people have ideas, like community residents have ideas, but they cannot translate them into, they don't have the skills to translate those ideas into stuff. And so we have engineering students and architecture and urban design students to basically translate those. And we have, so what we did, it's been going on for 3 years now, and it's still going on now. We involve religious leaders, and I want to show you the final one. It started from just from the university doing the work into involving politicians, religious leaders, the media. You cannot ignore the media when you want to scale up your projects, because it raises the awareness of the people out there, and the people out there will tell the politicians that, hey, this is an interesting thing to do. I guess this is the wrong file. Yes, sorry. It's the other file, sorry. But anyway, my time is up, but what was innovative about this is really that it was nothing innovative from the beginning. It's just that we thought that this is a problem that we can use our students to involve in it, and at the same time use our networks of friends and colleagues and who would tell the politicians to come and help. So it's not, because we researchers tend to define things very clearly. And because of the way research proposal has to be done, and monitoring and evaluation has to be done. That's why everything has to be so precise. But when you actually do the project that leads to some inclusiveness, you cannot be too precise about it, and you almost have to say, look, this is the best we can do. But it's kind of revolving. We started from only 2 organizations, basically 2 departments in the university. Now we have about 60 partners. It's huge. It's kind of S-curve even. At the beginning there's really no one interested in this project, but after the media told the public that, hey, this could be interesting, now we have too many people wanting to do this project. We just organized a festival 2 months ago, and we practically got about 100 partners, like stakeholders, and even like the French lighting companies, all that. So my final note, because my time is up, is that you kind of have to be flexible. If you think of open innovation, right? I mean, we're doing something that's not like the new iPad has to be very clearly defined. You kind of almost have to accept that it's trials and errors, and flexibility needs to be in there. So my time is up.